Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into a topic that's both fascinating and a little unnerving. The future of psychiatry. Are we headed towards a world where robots analyze our dreams and write our prescriptions? We'll be digging into excerpts from Future-Proof Careers, which has some pretty interesting takes on this. One section focuses specifically on psychiatrists, while another lists those jobs AI probably won't be taking over anytime soon. Kind of weird juxtaposition, don't you think? So buckle up as we try to separate the sci-fi from reality and figure out what AI really means for the future of mental health care.
Yeah, it's like every time there's a big technological leap, we see this push and pull, right? Mm-hmm. Excitement about the possibilities, but also this fear that robots are coming for our jobs. But like with most things, I suspect the truth is somewhere in the middle.
For sure. And this article doesn't waste any time getting to the heart of it. They jump right into what psychiatrists actually do. And it's way more complex than just, here's a prescription, see you next time, isn't it? I mean, they're basically trying to unravel the mysteries of the human mind using interviews and observations and psychological tests. It's like their intuition is a tool, too.
What I find so interesting is how the source highlights the deeply personal nature of psychiatry. It's all about building that strong, patient-centered relationship and really understanding their unique history and experiences to figure out the best way to help them.
And that's something AI can't replicate, right? I mean, at least not yet.
Exactly. That level of emotional intelligence, that nuanced judgment, it's incredibly difficult to program, even with the most advanced AI.
Which brings us to the role AI is playing right now. And the article is pretty clear. We're not looking at robot therapists yet. For now, it seems like it's more about AI as the psychiatrist's super smart assistant. For example, they talk about these programs that can analyze massive amounts of patient data, like way more than a human could ever process, to look for patterns and insights, things that even a brilliant psychiatrist might miss. Oh, and then there are AI-powered apps like Wobot. They use natural language processing, NLP, to basically have conversations with users and offer support for things like anxiety or depression.
And that's a key point here, right? These tools aren't meant to replace human practitioners. They're designed to work with them, to support them. It's like AI taking over the heavy lifting, the data crunching, freeing up the psychiatrist to focus on what they do best.
So AI as a force multiplier for better mental health care, not some cold, unfeeling replacement. I'll admit I was a bit nervous about this one. But it seems like we're off to a good start.
Okay, but I have to ask, what does the future hold for AI and mental health? This is where the source starts to feel a little like Black Mirror.
It does go there a bit, doesn't it? Like with that whole predictive analytics thing.
Right. Imagine an AI listening to your voicemails or scrolling through your social media to diagnose you.
Kind of creepy, right?
It's definitely pushing the boundaries. The idea is to use all that data to predict your future behavior or health outcomes. And while the potential is huge, you can't ignore how complex mental health really is.
Exactly. How do you even begin to train an AI on something as nuanced as human emotions? It seems like there's a real risk of misdiagnosis or oversimplifying these conditions.
Exactly. And the source even mentions the risk of false positives. Imagine being flagged as, like, high risk for depression just because of what you post online. What if you're just having a rough week, you know?
Yeah, it's a scary thought, being labeled by an algorithm that doesn't really get the full picture of your life. And that makes you realize just how important it is to have a human involved, someone who can understand the context.
Absolutely. Plus, even from a purely technological standpoint, we're talking about massive hurdles. The human brain is unbelievably complex. We're nowhere near replicating that in AI.
So maybe those robot therapists aren't coming for our jobs just yet. But what about virtual therapy in general? The source seems to think AI chatbots could become way more common, maybe even handling certain types of therapy.
It is an intriguing possibility. Imagine having on-demand support, coping mechanisms, or even just a virtual sounding board whenever you need it. AI could make mental health resources way more accessible, especially for people who can't afford traditional therapy or have trouble finding the right therapist.
That's a good point. AI could help bridge that gap in care. It could be huge for underserved communities especially.
Right. But even then, the source is careful to say that AI isn't a magic bullet. What works for one person might not work for another. Mental health is just so personal.
Okay, so we've talked about some potential benefits of AI, but this next part really stood out to me. The article makes a strong case for why human psychiatrists will always be essential, even in a future with all this amazing technology.
Yeah, it really gets at the heart of what makes human connection so irreplaceable, especially when we're talking about something as personal as mental health.
For sure. They break it down into three main points. Empathy, complex decision-making, and what they call tailored dynamic therapy. Let's start with empathy. Why is that so crucial in a psychiatrist-patient relationship? And can AI ever really get there?
Well, imagine you're struggling, right? Maybe you're super anxious or feeling really down, and you finally work up the courage to ask for help. Are you really going to open up to a machine the same way you would to another person? I don't know.
Probably not. It just hits different,
Exactly.
Oh.
Humans have this natural capacity for empathy. We pick up on those subtle cues, the tone of voice, a hesitation, even a facial expression. We read between the lines, and we respond with actual understanding, real compassion.
It's like they say, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. And it feels like that's where AI still misses the mark, Like, it can understand the words, but not the feeling behind them.
Right. AI can learn to recognize facial expressions and analyze language, sure. But it doesn't have that depth of shared human experience, that thing that allows us to really connect with and understand each other's emotions.
So point one, robots can crunch data, but they can't truly get us. At least not on that deep emotional level you need for trust and healing.
And that leads perfectly into the second point, complex decision-making. The source makes a really important point here. Mental health isn't a simple equation. There's no algorithm for treating something as complex as depression or anxiety.
Yeah, it's not like WebMD where you plug in your symptoms and get a diagnosis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A good psychiatrist considers everything. Your background, your genetics, what's going on in your life right now, all the things AI might not even be programmed to think about. It's about seeing the whole person.
So you need that human touch, someone who can weigh the options, understand your values, and make a judgment call based on the complete picture.
Right. And then there's that third element, tailored dynamic therapy. Basically, mental health care has to adapt over time. What works today might not work tomorrow.
So it's not just like a one and done thing.
Not usually, no. It's more like an ongoing conversation, a back and forth where you're constantly adjusting and responding to each other.
That's so interesting. It's about being flexible, changing the approach based on how the person's doing, what's going on in their lives. That human ability to adapt and improvise is something AI just can't replicate, at least not yet. It's funny because all this talk about AI got me thinking about that other article we mentioned, the one listing the jobs AI is least likely to take over. And guess what?
Psychiatrists are at the top.
Number one, ahead of surgeons, nurses, even artists. What do you think that says about the unique value psychiatrists bring to the table?
I think it speaks to just how much we as humans crave connection and understanding, even in a world that's becoming increasingly digital. When it comes to something as deeply personal as mental health, that human touch is essential.
It is kind of reassuring, isn't it? No matter how advanced technology gets, we'll always need that human connection, that empathy, that ability to just be there for each other. It seems like the future of psychiatry isn't about robots replacing therapists. It's more about finding ways for AI to support and enhance what human practitioners already do so well.
Absolutely. AI has incredible potential for data analysis, for early detection, maybe even for providing some types of basic support. But when it comes to the complexities of the human mind, nothing can replace the compassion, the intuition, and the nuanced judgment of a skilled psychiatrist.
It really makes you wonder, though. Even if AI could somehow perfectly replicate everything a psychiatrist knows, would we ever be totally comfortable opening up to a machine like that? It's a question we're thinking about. A huge thank you to our expert for breaking all of this down for us and sharing such amazing insights. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the future of psychiatry. It's something we'll all be grappling with for years to come, so keep those minds curious. We'll see you next time.